Hello and welcome to this dose of virtual vitamin Z. My name is Akilah, educator with the Detroit Zoological Society, and it is fall. We are officially here, and we are going to be continuing our segment on animal companion dog treats. So if you have a furry companion animal at home, this is going to definitely be the segment for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to be continuing our segment on how to make your own homemade dog treats. So if you have an animal companion at home, this is going to be a great activity for them. And if you have a little one or some children at home, you can definitely do this activity with them as well in the kitchen. It will give them a sense of responsibility, right? So let's go over some skills and concepts. So we're going to be talking about fine motor skills. Of course, with your young learner, or your young student, you're going to be using fine motor skills while you're in the kitchen, while you're cooking. You're going to be using tools to measure out things, and we're going to be definitely baking, and how to follow a procedure or a recipe. Which brings me to our vocabulary. So recipe. So we talked about this a few weeks ago. A recipe is just something that it shows you an order of steps that you need to follow in order to create a food item. All right. So if you have dog treats at home, you can always look on the back of your dog treats, your animal companion treats, and see what ingredients are actually in your animal dog treats. So I was really curious because I have a furry companion at home. Actually, we actually have two by the name of Albie and Jada. And so I was really curious as to what kind of treats can I possibly give them that will be wholehearted, good for them, good for their growth, good for their health, and that they would enjoy all around. A lot of times I try to get them to do certain things like come here or sit down or go to certain locations. And so this will be a good way of creating a treat in the kitchen for them with your own hands and your own creativity. And then you can also share with them what you made. So I was really curious and wanted to know what ingredients were in mine. So I had chickpeas, which is a garbanzo bean. We had peanut butter and our dog treat. We had cane molasses, which I thought was kind of strange. Sugar for a animal, so I was just like, that's kind of strange. Coconut flour, which wasn't too out of the ordinary. They used dehydrated bananas, sunflower, tapioca starch, natural flavor, and rosemary extract. Now, I know a lot of times we think about the things that we eat and what's healthy, what's going to be healthy for us. And I thought about what's going to be healthy for my companion animal. And I thought to myself, maybe the less ingredients, the better it will actually be for them. So when you are making your animal treats when you're making your treats for your companion at home, make sure that you're not using any nutmeg and you're not using chocolate because it can be an allergic reaction for your companion animal, and we definitely don't want to be sending our companion animals to the vet for a vet bill or to make their stomach or their tummy aches. All right, just like us, we're people are allergic to a lot of different things, and we have to be careful and conscientious of the things that we put in our body. So it's going to be the same thing for those pets that we love at home. All right, so let's get right down to the recipe. It was 7 steps in this recipe that I found, and I did find this online. And this one is going to be a vegan fall treat. All right, so if you have some of that pumpkin, or if you have some sweet potato at home, this is definitely going to be a fall treat that will make your home smell nice and warm. You'll probably want to eat these at the end yourself, but these are definitely going to be for your companion animal. You always want to make sure that you preheat the oven to 350 degrees or whatever the recipe calls for. And you want to line your baking sheet with silicone mat or parchment paper. I actually didn't have these items at home, and I actually found out that it still worked pretty well. And I didn't put down any oil, but I did use a non-stick baking pan, right? So you're gonna wanna combine the pumpkin puree, the peanut butter, the flax meal, and cinnamon, if you're gonna be using cinnamon, into a food processor and blend until it's combined. So I'm definitely gonna go over the items that you'll need for your recipe and the materials that you'll need, okay? But I always like to review my recipe so I can know exactly what steps that I will need to take and exactly what needs to be done prior to. Because sometimes you need to prep some things beforehand, maybe a day or two, or maybe an hour or so before. So you want to make sure that you just kind of review over your recipe. You want to kind of get in a good habit of that. All right, you add in the flour, the oat flour, you process until it's a dough form, and then you're gonna roll everything out. You're gonna cut into any shape that you desire. You're gonna bake, of course, for 30 to 35 minutes, and then you wanna make sure that those treats are nice and cool for your companion animal, all right? So the items that you're gonna need for your recipe was gonna be pumpkin puree. You use 3/4 cups. You're gonna use cinnamon, or pumpkin spice. I use cinnamon. Remember, no nutmeg and no types of chocolate. So nutmeg is a type of seasoning or a type of herb that you can add. And that's going to be optional for the cinnamon or the pumpkin spice. It has just a little bit more flavor for your companion animal. You want to have some flax meal. I had some at home. 1 1/3 cup of oat flour, peanut butter. And you want to make sure that it's natural, that it doesn't have any xylitol or sugar substitute. All right. Remember, we want to make these as whole as we possibly can and not using any types of different supplements that are going to be in there. All right. We're going to make sure that we have measuring cups and hands, measuring spoons, and of course, a large bowl and a food processor. One thing I found is that baking over a certain amount of time that I've been baking and cooking, if you don't have oat flour, what you can do is actually take some oatmeal and make sure that that's ground up into almost like a really, really fine grain. So you can find some ways that you can substitute some things out as you create these recipes or as you follow some at home. All right. So of course, we're always going to make sure that we preheat that oven to 350 degrees. And then the food processor, you're going to combine the pumpkin puree, the peanut butter, the flax, and the cinnamon if you're going to be using it and you want to blend it until it's combined. So what you see right here is what it's going to look like. I was always really hesitant when I make my recipe sometimes or when I'm following a recipe is that people don't have a lot of photos. And I'm always like, is that really supposed to be the consistency of it? I'm not quite sure. So I definitely have a photo here for you so you can know exactly what it's going to look like after you add the oat flour in. Because remember, it's going to be nice and doughy, almost just like some cookies that we will make at home. But these are going to be cookie treats for your companion animal. All right, so you're gonna make sure that you roll out the dough. And I use just a circle cutter this time around. And this is what it looks like. I put some flour on my board to make sure it wasn't gonna stick. And I rolled it out nice to about 1/4 of an inch. I want to make sure they were gonna be not too thin and not too thick. Of course, if they're too thick and you put them in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes, it's gonna be kind of doughy in the middle. And even though your companion animal may gobble it up, it still may not be good for them if it's not fully cooked. Okay, so you want to make sure that you roll it out, cut those pieces, and then what's going to happen is that you'll see that it gets smaller and smaller because you want to make sure that you use all that dough. You don't want to waste anything, all right? And I want to say after this recipe, I think we had about 30-ish cookies or so for Albie that was at home. And I'm going to actually show you a quick video of me giving him these treats at the very end. What you'll see him doing is that I'm giving him certain commands in certain directions. So he was actually taking a nap and I wanted to get his attention. He loves taking naps, especially in the fall time. In the winter, it's getting cold outside, so he likes to nestle in his bed. And so to get his attention sometimes to either go outside to make sure that he uses the restroom or to make sure that we get ready to go on our walk, you can always use these treats, and that's how I use my treats. So just depending on what you want to do with your companion animal, you want to make sure that you're giving them clear direction. And then you also want to make sure that you are rewarding their behavior. So you'll see me reward his behavior when he comes to me. I will give him a treat, and then I will reward his behavior again when he stays in one place. And then when he comes and he sits, and you'll see me reward his behavior again. If you want to see more videos though on how to do positive enrichment and positive reinforcement with your companion animal, make sure you check out some of our past virtual vitamin Z, which was done by my friend and colleague, Sandy. And so you can see her with some of her furry companion animals at home when she did a segment on how to do positive reinforcement. So again, we bake those cookies between 30 and 35 minutes. And here is going to be a video of Albie at home with me. And I did speed the video up. He is not moving that fast. He sits, he's waiting, he's licking, and he's ready to get his treat because he sees it on the side. So right here, he's sitting. He comes to me, we wait, and then he gets his treat. We're still trying to get him in the habit of sitting right after. So you'll see me give him a command and then he sits. But we just want to make sure that he is focused and he's ready and willing to participate. And you want to make sure if you are doing positive reinforcement with your companion animal at home, you want to make sure that you're giving them some breaks in between. You don't want to go too long because they can either lose their concentration, they can lose their focus, or they can get just as irritable as we can sometimes if someone's trying to force us to do something and we're just really not feeling it. So just make sure that it's going to be a positive experience for your companion animal and also a positive experience for you. And it gives you guys a chance and opportunity to bond. And of course, if you are doing these at home with your little one, making these treats in the kitchen, this will also give your little one an opportunity to be involved in that positive reinforcement as well. So here at the Detroit Zoo, the animals that are in our care, they love treats. They get fed depending on the species. They may get fed 2 to 3 times a day, and they also may get some snacks in between. And our animal care staff that is here, they actually do a lot of positive reinforcement with them. So again, make sure you check out some of those past videos on our virtual vitamin Z. And you may be asking yourself, what's going to be next for me? Check your doggy treats out. What do they look like? What are the ingredients that are involved? You want to choose what's going to be best for your companion animal at home. You can always explore and create your own recipe. You can find your own, and you can always share them with us at education@dzs.org. Whether it's going to be a recipe or just a photo of you and your companion animal giving that recipe out. And of course, always visit detroitzoo.org for more virtual vitamin Z. And just to go over again, the things that we covered today were fine motor skills, using those fingers and those hands to create our recipes. Of course, we talked about using tools to measure out things when we're in the kitchen. We talked about how we're doing some baking and how to follow a procedure and using a specific recipe. So thank you so much for joining me for this dose of Virtual Vitamin Z. We hope to see you soon and take care.